Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton bringing you another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. And on today's episode, we're going to talk the review of the 1917 comeback win. It's Jack Chambers time, baby. But there's an unsung hero that I don't think enough people are talking about because folks don't like admitting they're wrong. And so we'll get into that a little bit, as well as talking about what happened in the game and Devin Leary's injury update, and we're going to review how the team did against Kings Keys. So stick around for all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, folks, first thing first, this 1917 win over Florida State was massive. Let's just be honest, it was massive. And there was a tweet that I made during the game that I was talking about, how everything had happened and why everything worked out the way it did. And I want you to just bear with me for a second here in terms of this not being the same old Wolfpack team that we've seen in the past. And I said that these Wolfpack teams have a how do I put this? These Wolfpack teams that we've seen in the past had a way of letting one loss turn into two, turn into three. Okay, I talked about that, and I talked about the reality is a mature football team in college means that you have a bunch of guys who are legally able to drink a year, maybe two ago. That's mature. So the reality is you need to have the ability to come out in the second half and do what needs to be done in order to make sure that you show the country and yourselves we are not in the business of letting one game turn into two. We are not in the business of, oh, we lost, our season's over, we don't need to play hard anymore, and it's just, this is just so sad. This was a moment rather, where the Wolfpack could have packed it in. Everything was there. Everything was there for this team to pack it in. You're playing a Florida State team that's better than everybody expected, and it's Florida State. You lose your starting quarterback. You got to put in a walk-on transfer. Everything was there. Everything was there. And yet, this team came through. And yet, this team showed up. And I tweeted out, with State, traditionally losses find a way to turn into two or three. If this team is the mature cast of characters we think, this second half will show it. Well, let me tell you something. The second half showed it. It showed it. And again, that is verbatim the tweet, word for word, that I gave at halftime, 9:58 p.m. on Saturday night. And you know what they did in that second half? The defense pitched a shutout. The offense scored its only touchdown of the game. The offense put up 16 points in the second half. That's what I'm talking about. When I say this team has the potential to be special and different, this is the type of moment where it starts, where it gets going. Because the road ahead doesn't get easier. Sure, I'm not going to lie to you and say it does. But you didn't make the road ahead harder in this game. Yes, Syracuse 5-0, tough task coming up. That's a tough team coming up. Sean Tucker is running the ball at a high clip. He is running the ball at a high clip. But you know what makes that running attack of Syracuse even harder to stop? When you're looking around and saying, man, we not suffered 2 losses straight, man. We don't know what's going on, man. We came in with all this and we don't lost. That makes it harder. So the ability to come away from this game with a win, the ability to, in spite of things working against you, to overcome adversity, to have that grit and grind mentality of we are not surrendering, we're not packing it. And I'm not going, There are certain members of the fan base, and y'all know I don't like talking to the minority, but I got to talk to them. There are certain members of the fan base, and don't worry, I'm gonna talk to the majority in a minute here. That said, when Devin Leary went down, well, there goes the season. And I don't mean to be rude to it when I say this. I don't mean to be rude to Devin. I don't mean to be rude. Why would we say that? Even if Devin Leary was playing the way that everybody expected him to coming into this year, even if he was a legitimate Heisman candidate, with the rest of the team playing like they are, why would I say that there goes the season? We won't see a defense like Clemson's again. And I know Syracuse is putting up spectacular numbers defensively. Spectacular. They're the number one defense in the league in some regards. I know that. I know. That's a good defense. They don't have a Miles Murphy. They don't have a KJ Henry. They don't have those guys. I'm just telling you. I'm letting you know in all seriousness and sincerity, we won't see another defense or another defensive front like Clemson's. We won't. That's just the facts of the matter. And so when I go forward from there, this team, again, had every reason to say, hey, Devin Leary got us one touchdown. He got us close, but, we can go ahead and, oh, boy. We can go ahead and pack it in at this point. They didn't. And the defense came up with huge, massive turnovers. One that put us in super plus position that our offense did their best to ruin. Hickory dickory, more failed Tim Beck trickery. We got a throwback pass from Thayer Thomas. Well, we know Thayer Thomas has more passing touchdowns than successful jet sweeps or jet sweeps that turned into touchdowns. We know that. That's what the numbers bear out. So guess what's going to happen when teams see that little number 5 come and get the ball on the jet sweep? Guess what they're probably thinking? Oh, no, we need to watch on the other side of the field. Or, oh, no, the corners need to be getting deep for the pass. That's what they're thinking. Maybe we could trick defenses by actually running that jet sweep. Who knows? But anyway, on top of that, we had some penalties that moved us back even further. And at that point, we were knocked darn near out of field goal range and had to gain some yardage on third down to get back into field goal range, despite getting the ball on, I want to say, the 13-yard line. There were moments where this thing seemed like State was going to do their best to fumble it, but we didn't. This team, at the end of the day, they came away with it. And yes, that is partially thanks to Florida State having absolute zero trust in their kicker, therefore putting the ball in the air at the end of the game and allowing Boykin to pick off a ball. Hey, I ain't gonna say they didn't. I'm not gonna say they didn't do that. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to you and front to you and say, oh yeah, Florida State didn't put the ball in harm's way. Not gonna sit here and tell you that. But we took advantage of it when they did. And that's all that matters. That, to me, is all that matters. We trailed 17-13, I believe, or might have been, we trailed 17-13 when Devin Leary went out. And yet, and still, this team, they showed up. They, again, whatever you want to say about what they did or didn't do or whatever the case may be, a win is a win is a win. I'm sorry, Devin Boykin showed up with a big interception. There. So this is, when I look at this team and I look at this game, I say that this game is one that could be, I know that we thought Clemson was going to be a program definer and the definitive moment where we say this team became something different, but it honestly could be this game. It honestly could be this game, in that there was, in this moment where you have every reason to say, oh, I can't do it. I can't. I just can't. I can't. We giving up. The path of least resistance is right there for us. This team didn't do that. They strained and they fought and they battled. But now, let me take a couple of personal victory laps, shall we? Or actually, let me get the Devin Leary's injury update first, and then I'll take a couple of victory laps, and then we'll get into Kenton's keys, all right? Because these things need to be said. it's some things that need to be said, and we'll say them right after this. The numbers don't lie, folks. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use Simply Safe in my home. They protect you with cutting edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. With 24/7 monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment there's a threat detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home and can't be reached. Their monitoring systems use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when the break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. So customize the perfect system in your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. So, a very, very quick update on Devin Leary's health situation. There is no surgery needed. They said that this is going to be a rehabable injury. It sounds like there was like a sprained AC joint or something like that. But with that being said, he's day to day, and that he could be back this week. He could be back in 6 weeks, which some people are like upset at and like, oh my God, they're so vague and all that good stuff. But I mean, it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of injuries. Like, we all would like to pretend that we know and we have all the information on everything that's going on. But to hear that there's no breaks, no cartilage tears, no anything like that, that's, they say he's going in for an MRI actually. So for those of you who don't know, let me explain this out to you a little bit. The X-ray is the bones. The X-ray tells you what's going on with the bones. If there's any broken bones, any damage to the bones, anything like that. Okay. The MRI tells you about the tissue, the ligaments, all that good stuff. If there's a sprain, a tear, anything like that, that's what the MRI is going to tell us. So Devin Leary going in for the MRI to figure out exactly what's wrong here. And the results are sounding good because 9 times out of 10, if it's not like a significant tear, he'll be all right. He'll be back before the season ends. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that's definitely good news on the Devin Leary front. And it's crazy to me that it's always the hits that draw penalties that get him hurt, which is like the ultimate player safety thing to say. Like, these are plays where you want to protect the quarterback. These are plays where teams took advantage or took liberties that should not have been taken. And now, congratulations, we potentially lose Devin Leary for a very long time off that, which is just terrible. It's just such a terrible thing. And now I want to go back to the game for a second because I was told that Jordan Houston was bad at football. I was told after the ECU game and after Texas Tech that he didn't need to be in anymore and we needed to give all the touches to Demi and all that good stuff. That's what I was told. I was told that he was useless. I was told that, he'd been there for years and never did anything special. That's what I was told now. That's what I was told. Well, look at that. Would you look at that? I'm just trying to tell you. So he was, I told people, don't write off Jordan Houston. He fumbled on the goal line against ECU, sure, but he's still a quality player. And now look, he was the leading rusher and receiver for the Pack in this game. And yes, that does partially speak to the ineptitude of the offense. Yes, that does partially speak to the fact that when Devin Leary got hurt, there was not a single quarterback that completed another pass. We didn't complete another pass beyond the line of scrimmage. We didn't gain a single passing yard from that point forward. Absolutely. That does speak to that as well. But the reality is, Jordan Houston led this team in rushing and receiving this game. And I'm going to tell you, for all the talk that everybody said about, oh, he's not this, he's not that, let me explain something to you. Here's the thing. People think that a lot of folks think, oh, I've watched football and I've been around the game for a little while, so I know this game as much as the people who played it, as much as the people who dedicated their lives to it and all that. And I'm telling you right now, you don't. You don't. And this isn't me, waving around and say, "Oh, look, I'm smarter than you, dummies," and all that. No, 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 no. Let me explain to you something about the nature of the game of football. Do you want to know why running backs are seen as quote unquote expendable now and they're not worth top five? Running backs being drafted in the top 5 to 10 is an anomaly that's only going to get further and further out because running back is a position where naturally, because of your job, you're exposed to an additional risk of injury. You're the guy that everybody on defense wants to attack a lot of times. Okay. And you don't have a lot. Yes, you are in a more aggressive posture. Yes, you're generally running downhill or you're, seeing where everybody's coming from and all that. You have full sight of most folks. Sure. Doesn't matter if you have full sight of most folks. If you got a 300-pounder in your lap as soon as you touch the ball. Doesn't matter if you have sight of most folks. If that linebacker is coming to fill the hole with terrible intentions that you cannot escape from. With that being said, I knew, listen, I'm trying to tell you, as sure as a fat kid loves cake, I knew that at some point in time, Jordan Houston would have to come up big for this offense in order for us to get a win. And voila. Voila. Or voila, rather. Voila. The offense needed him to show up in a major way, and he did. And he did. And this goes into another point that I had talked about before that I want to reiterate again. Our offensive line is not bad. I know, and I talked about how bad Belton got whooped on and beat up on by those guys from Clemson. I talked about it. And I'm very open about that. But again, those are guys that they're not just going on night one. I doubt that they'll be around after the first 15, 20 picks. I highly, highly doubt it. Hey, yes, he's old enough to where he should be able to handle himself better against those guys. Absolutely. Sure. I'll give you that. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. For sure. But now, with that being said, I said that this offensive line was going to be a key to winning this game and that we were going to need to take advantage of the fact that they were down some of their best defensive linemen and some of their best defensive linemen were hurt. I told everybody at the end of the game, before the interception, I said, during that drive, I said, we're one stop away from a win. And everybody said, well, Florida State has all 3 timeouts and yada, yada, yada. And all I said was, I know, or I think rather, not I know, I think if we get the ball back, we can lean on them and get a first down. And we did. Do you want to know why? Those linebackers over there are not slouches. Deloach is not a slouch, okay? They're not slouches in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Bethune is not a slouch. He's not a slouch. Lundy is not a slouch. None of those guys are slouches. None of those guys are terrible players that if they play for the Wolfpack, they wouldn't play it down. Would they start? I don't know about that. I highly doubt it. But would they play? Of course. So they're not slouches. And with that being said, I mean, this was a game in which our linebacking core took it over on defense. They were all 3 of our linebackers, right? Moore, Thomas, Wilson, all have 10 plus tackles. All are being disruptive in their own ways, all making plays all over the field, particularly Thomas, who had a huge pass breakup as well as a couple of QB hurts. But with that being said, offensively, our offensive line did what they needed to do. They moved guys around and they opened holes up enough for Jordan Houston to find some room, for Delvin Mims to find some room, for Jack Chambers to find some room to get us where we needed to be, to get some field goals. And again, the defense, the secondary, yes, they were helped out and assisted by some drops, but at the end of the day, does not matter. The numbers are not what matters. It's the alphabets, and the alphabets that matter here are L's and W's. Shout out to Eric Bieniemy. And what did we come away with? A W, folks. That's what we came away with. So this offensive line needs some love because everybody, again, week to week to week, and this is something I tell players whenever I see them or whenever I talk to them. Even though I'm a part of the media and even though I'm understanding of the fan base, the reality is you're never as bad as they say you are after a loss, but you're never as good as you are after a big win. You're never either one of those things. You're always somewhere between that. That's generally what you are. After a loss, everything is going wrong. All the things are bad. It's part of reality. So let's get into Kenton's keys here. Some of them were null and void. This first one, definitely null and void. I mean, Devin Leary got hurt, so it's not really fair to try to calculate a QBR there when he got hurt in a very crucial point in the game. However, the offensive line, so we're going to strike that one from the record books as well as another one that's coming up here in a moment. That's another story for another time. The offensive line, no more than 1 sack and 6 hurries given up. They gave up 1 sack and 4 hurries. Now, again, this one feels like it kind of needs to be stricken too because we didn't pass the ball like at all in that fourth quarter and toward the end of the third quarter. But, I digress. It is what it is. So, 1 sack and 4 hurries surrendered. They accomplished that. They accomplished that goal. This was the second goal that I wanted to be stricken. Oh, Lord. That is incorrect. The goal for that one, the third goal was supposed to be the wide receivers not named Thayer Thomas needed 8 catches for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, not really fair without your starting quarterback in the game. However, the receiving numbers were concerning. The receiving numbers were concerning on this game. I mean, in total, out of the receivers, we had 9 receptions for 100. Oh, I'm sorry, 9 receptions for 91 yards or 89 yards, I believe. That has to improve. And actually, 3 of those belong to Demi Sumo. So let me take those out. Long story short, the only reception, Thayer Thomas did not have a reception. The only reception that we thought he had was taken back and negated by or he was out of bounds. His left foot came down out of bounds slightly before his right foot did. But the actual receivers, and I'll throw in the tight end to give him a little help, says 0. You're looking at 5 receptions for a little over 70 yards. That's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done the rest of the way. But again, starting quarterback was out. Don't want to hold him to that and having to play with a backup and not throw the ball at all for the most part in the second half. And now, so again, I was stricken from the record as well. Right now, the Wolfpack is 1-1 against the Keys. The first defensive key, under 150 yards rushing. They allowed 206, but there's a key caveat to this, which I'm not going to give them this and say that they're plus here. But so they're 1 of 2 right now. I'm going to say they missed this one. But Jordan Travis rushed for 71 yards on 1 play. If it were not for that play, they would be at 135. If it weren't for that 1 play. But it was like we were playing Jordan Travis as if his legs were not a weapon. We were crashing really, really hard on the inside handoffs as if Jordan Travis was not a dynamic runner who could do some things with his legs himself, which is very confusing to me because that was the thing that everybody expected him to do well this year. It just so happened to be that Florida State had 3 good running backs that could all do different things well, but all are good with that ball under their arms, so they did not need him to run as much. And for us to completely ignore his legs was like, what are we doing here? He rushed for over 100 yards by himself if you take away sack yardage. Just very disappointing there. So the Wolfpack is 1 of 2 at the moment. 3 sacks was the second defensive key. We did not get that, but we got 1 sack and 8 pressures. Now, let me tell you why that's significant, okay? Let me tell you why this is significant and why I will technically give the Wolfpack a win here. Because the assignment was 3 sacks, but the intention behind the 3 sacks is to make the quarterback uncomfortable. Now, you're looking at 1 sack and 8 pressures, which means 9 times They got home or got this far from getting home, right? That happened 9 times, okay? How many times did Jordan Travis put the ball in the air in total? 30. He threw the ball 30 times in total. Now, when you look at that, you say to yourself, well, 9 into 30, that's basically 1 in 3. But wait, how many of those passes were screens? How many of those passes were immediate? As soon as it hits his hand, boom, it's out the gate. So now you say, well, they threw about at least five or six screens. I feel like 5 is a good number there. So you look at 5 screens. So now you're looking at 25 passes, and 9 times somebody was, in his face. So basically, once every 2.5 dropbacks, he's getting pressured. They may not have had the actual sacks, but sometimes the pressure is just as good. And this is one of those situations. Jordan Travis never really looked like he had a lot of time to get comfortable in the pocket, and that was extremely important, which leads into the next key. So right now they are 2 of 3 and leads to the next key, forced 2 turnovers. Actually, you know what? No, I got to be honest. I can't give them that 3-sack one because, I did set it for sacks, but they did accomplish the goal of getting them. You know what? I'm going to give them that. I'm sorry. I'm going to stick with that one. I'm going to give them that because, again, the goal was to get them uncomfortable, and they did that. Now, leads into my final goal, which was force 2 turnovers. The 2 turnovers that they forced were massive. The 2 turnovers that they forced won the game. Point blank, period. The first turnover put NC State in massively plus territory. Put us in plus territory to where I was thinking touchdown, but we got a field goal. You can't be too upset with getting points in that situation. Yes, we would want to see no Tim Beck trickery. Yes, we would like to see no double holding penalties to move us back 30 yards. Yes, we would love to see that, but it's not what we did see, but we got points out of the drive. So you got to live with that. And the second interception by Devon Boykin sealed the game. Sealed the game when they were in field goal position. To see that they were going to the same route concept that they'd already tried earlier in the game, massive. Massive work right there. Just good, great stuff. That's what you love to see. That's what wins ball games. That's what wins ball games, okay? That, again, there was a reason that I said I was betting on NC State in this. I was riding with NC State in this one. And, there was a reason why even after Devin Leary got hurt, I didn't say, hey, the season's over. This team is over. It's all done with. And I'm betting that this team keeps the good stuff rolling and keeps finding ways and figuring it out with Devin Leary or without. So that's just my take there. And if you're a bettor, make sure that you go to betonline.net. I repeat, go to betonline.net. BetOnline is your number one source for all your football betting this season. Find all your latest player developments, team matchups, news, and podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we're about to land this thing, but I hope that I've made certain things clear, right? Number one, Devin Leary seems like he's going to be okay. Seems like he's going to be back this season, and it's day to day. So we're hoping the MRI comes back positive as well. The next thing that we're looking at is, again, these players, especially with running backs. It's not a great idea to write off the second guy on the depth chart. It's just not. I'm sorry to tell you. I promise you, even NFL teams know this. It's not a great idea to say, oh, well, this guy's playing well and his stock is up, so we don't ever need this guy again. I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon? You probably will. Statistics say you probably will need that second guy in line. Next thing, and for the Kenton's keys, again, 2 of them were stricken from the record books, but this team did go 2 of 4 on the day, so that's what you like to see. You know what I mean? It's, again, yes, I am giving them the sack one as well, or No, they're 3 or 4 on the day if I give them the sack one, because the O-line gave up less than 1 sack and 8 hurries. The defense allowed more than 150 rushing yards, but they made the quarterback uncomfortable, which was the point of the 3 sacks, and they got the 2 takeaways. So this, all in all, was an amazing performance by the Pack. We're going to look forward to Syracuse for the rest of the week and talk about what makes that team so dangerous and how they're still undefeated at this point in time. Peace and love, y'all, and as always, go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.